As a finance professional in a disrupted business landscape, what does it take to be in demand? What does it take to attract great paying international roles? If you're an ICAN member, it'll just take one exam. That's all it takes to complete the globally recognized SEMA professional qualification and the internationally respected CGMA designation. As a SEMA member and a CGMA designation holder, employers will look at you as a finance professional, constantly acquiring new skills to add value to the business. That's why they'll be willing to pay premium to hire and retain you. If you have 5 years of relevant experience and are an ICAN member, you can directly sit for the final exam of the SEMA Professional Qualification, the Strategic Case Study exam. Start studying the SEMA Professional Qualification. Prepare to make an impact.
Good evening, professional colleagues. Good evening, friends of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. Our students, we want to welcome you this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure once again to welcome you to another educative session and a very interactive session of ICAN on Air, powered by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. Today, Thursday, the 6th day of the month of October 2022. And I have with me this evening my co-anchor, Olamide Balogun. My pleasure to have you on ground.
Good evening, Shason Okwade FCA. Glad to be here to co-pilot this wonderful session with you. And to our esteemed viewers all over the world, we say welcome to yet another wonderful session. It's bound to be a great session. Welcome.
Yeah, a great session, a great session. And today we will be discussing a topic we have captured, developing executive presence in the workplace. And to just justice to this evening is no other person than Mrs. Ayoade Igbeyi. And she is a very wonderful, loving, ever-smiling woman, the president and chairman of the 9th and 10th NITAD Council, retired director of training, industry, industrial training fund, ITF, practicing L&D consultant with over 34 years experience, a fellow of NITAD, a fellow Chartered Institute of Human Resources Management, member Association of Talent Development, ATD in United States of America, member Learning and Development Network International. She led the team that won the Star Partner Award in the Entrepreneurship for ITF in 2017, given by the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Oshibajo. That is the woman that we're bringing this evening to come and give more enlightenment to what executive presence in workplace should be and how we need to develop it. Olamide, I'm sure we are prepared for the show today.
Absolutely. That is indeed a very impressive CV of our guest, and nothing short of the kind of essence that she carries. And I'm sure our guests are in for a good treat this evening. Yes.
Yeah, on that note, we quickly go on a very short break, knowing fully well that we encourage you to promote your goods and services here for global, viewers to promote and definitely engage your services. I'll be coming back with our guest as I go on a very short break.
Save the date. Make it in October to remember as you register and plan to attend the 52nd ICAN Annual Accountants Conference. Date 10th to 14th October 2022. Venue ICC Abuja and Sheraton Abuja. For more inquiries, call 070-501-80222 or 090-625-47263. You can also visit the ICAN website www.icanig.org to register. Thank you.
Welcome back, and welcome back. It is my pleasure to be having Mrs. Ayoade Igbeyi, who is our guest. Mrs. Igbeyi, good evening, and we want to welcome you to the show this evening. Ma, please unmute yourself. Unmute yourself, Ma. Yeah, you're live.
Good evening, Sheson and Olumide. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. I'm happy
Brilliant.
And
we are starting without wasting our time this evening on the topic developing executive presence in our workplace. Executive. 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 You see, this is one of the many misused, misunderstood, mismanaged words today. As an expert, our global viewers will want to learn from your wealth of experience and knowledge. Please, Ma, can you educate us? Who is an executive or who qualifies to be called or addressed an executive?
Oh, thank you, Sheson. Would you say it's an misused word? Okay, maybe from that point of view. However, an executive is an individual who holds administrative or supervisory authority in an organization. Many companies just consider it as position in the C-suite. And the C-suite is that top of the pyramid that we always have when we are climbing the leadership ladder. So it's that individual that you consider as an executive who holds administrative and supervisory role and authority within an organization. Hello?
Very brilliant, very brilliant. Someone who takes charge, who is in charge, who has that supervisory role and the authority to command things the way it should be. Olamide.
Yes, please. Once again, welcome, madam. Thank you for being here. We often hear people use the word executive commonly in political gatherings and corporate settings, and even in social events, we hear them use the word executive. Does the word executive mean the same thing in all these settings?
Somehow, but not all the time. Depending on the situation, the context which you are using it. If you say in the political setting, yes, somebody that oversees the administration or function of that setting could be called an executive or can be referred to as an executive. But an executive stands higher than other positions in the organization. At times, a manager may say, "Oh, I'm the executive in this place," or whatever. Ideally, an executive is that person that sits on top, the CEO, that sees to the runnings of so many administrative and supervisory coordination and everything, which he has the authority to give to somebody else to manage, because he can't be everywhere all the time. So whether within political setting or corporate setting, they have the same role, but the context is different.
The context
Good.
is Different, but the same role. Someone who is saddled with that responsibility to be. Let me go again on this question, Ma. Let me go on this question. Let's get a bit with different executive during the context of a workplace. There seems to
Hello.
be a little interruption there. Am I being heard?
I didn't hear most of what you said, Sheson.
Oh, okay. Pardon me. I was trying to go deeper into the earlier explanation that you gave to us about executive. And I said an executive, being an executive, must definitely be different from having executive presence. So, what is executive presence? And what does it mean to have executive presence, especially in the context of a workplace?
Okay. Okay, thank you for that. Let's quickly talk before we've already talked about the executive. Let's look at that one word that is attached to the executive, and that's presence. Presence is that someone that when the person gets into a place, heads turn, people look and say, this is the person is not a showstopper, but he has the presence that people want to. Everything seems to gravitate towards that individual. They seem to be in charge of any situation. So now merging executive with the presence, what does that mean? You know, the word executive presence is one it came in into being. It's been there, but somebody brought it to the fore in 2014. It came into to a management lexicon in 2014 by one woman, Sylvia Hewlett. You know what she said about executives presence in our book is that she said is the ability to act decisively. Look at that, act decisively, then with dignity, add that to it. Then looking at the typical elements that are inherent in a leader. So look at it, ability to act decisively, not just anyhow. Then he merges that with dignity. Then he now brings in the leadership aspect of himself to add to being an executive. Because it's not only just to say, I'm an executive, you have to have that ability to act with precision and decision, ensuring that when you act, when we always say that when you act right or the timing is right and the decision is right, you are on your path to being a successful executive. So act decisively. There's dignity because you have the technical know-how to be able to carry your followers, to carry the people that you're leading, okay, to carry them along. So it means that it's something that we can cultivate. Executive presence is something you can cultivate. It's something you build on, and it's some people say that it's like you are born with it, like leadership. No, some people feel I can step into it because I have the leadership trait. You know, one thing about executive presence is that you start from personal presence, then you move on to leadership presence, then the tip of or the apex or the zenith of all personal leadership is the executive presence because you carry your person along, you carry your leadership traits along, you carry your leadership skills along. So, executive presence is a skill that we can learn. Those things that will help us to deliver on whatever or in whatever position we find ourselves. One thing we should know about executive presence is it's not the position, it is you. What you bring to the table. What are you giving your people? What are the experience? What are the communication skills? There's so many skills that you need to learn when you say you are an executive. So executive presence is action, decision with dignity, and at the same time ensuring that you carry some leadership traits. Because you can't be an executive if you don't have the leadership skills.
Very well said, man. You can't be an executive if you don't have the leadership skills, and we should always act, decisively and with dignity. Those are very salient points that we're taking down there. Ma, let me follow up with this question also. As a renowned and experienced executive yourself, what are the objectives of the executive presence in a workplace? And what roles do they play in the success or a failure of a corporate organization?
Okay, let's look at some of the activities of the executive. What does an executive do? What does he do? First, we said he has authority to act with dignity and decision. So that now gives us an inroad into what he does. He establishes and enforces corporate policies. Okay, he sits in the C suite. Some people say the C suite is the chief suite. No, that top place. In those days, it used to be that some people they say the chief executive is in the penthouse, the pent office. So he sits up there. So what he does is that he's in the boardroom. The C suite is the chief suite. It's also the corporate suite that it's not everybody that gets there. As we go up there, it gets narrower. So he establishes and enforces corporate policies. He analyzes some reports, maybe not all, in order to increase productivity and achieve the goal of the organization and the objective. So he also works with other people, stakeholders, to ensure that he develops the relationship so that this organization that is sitting on top will not go down. He needs them to be able to ensure that things go the way the forebears thought of that organization to be. When an organization comes into being, people say they have the vision, they look forward to, oh, this is what, then how do we get there? So the executive also helps in ensuring that the vision is achieved. It also ensures that the mission, the people that will run with the dream are there. And who are these people? Within the corporate setting as well as outside of the corporate setting. That's why we always talk about the stakeholders. So we need to assist in ensuring that the strategies after planning, you remember we said that he supervises, and out of supervision is planning, coordination, and all. So he has to ensure that strategies are attached. Those plans are matched with strategy so that we'll be able to get up there. So that's what an executive does. So, and you can't do this if you don't have the present. How will people take you? It's always said that in executive presence, you walk the talk. You not only walk the talk, you do, act, look, and on top of it, action. Bring action into all these policies. If not, it will just be a paper tiger that cannot roar.
That's a very brilliant submission by Mrs. Igbeyi. And I want to use this opportunity to tell our viewers connected globally that Mrs. Igbeyi is here to do justice to your question on the executive presence in workplace. Let me use this opportunity to specially recognize all our viewers from the north, from the south, from the east. I've seen Fatbola Topman from Ibadan, Alex from Benin City, and we have those that are connected even from diaspora. Bringing your question, our guest today is fully prepared to do justice to that. Mrs. Igbeyi, let me follow up with this question. Is executive presence in a workplace and leadership quality in a workplace one and the same, or they are completely different? Please educate us on that.
Okay, executive presence in the workplace, then leadership skills or leadership in the workplace. Are they separate or are they together? Yes. Let's break it down this way. I mentioned that you bring in your personal presence, then you bring in your leadership skills, then you now get up there. You see, leadership skills complement your executive presence. Okay? You can be a leader and you may not be in the C-suite. You may not be an executive, but you perform some of those roles of the executive. So what we're saying is that as leaders, You have some things that you say, I have the skill in order to take me, if I so get the what it takes to get to that place up there. However, they are nothing in especially in management of people, that you'll ever say is in silos. Nothing is ever in silos. We work together. It's a two-way traffic. It's a symbiotic relationship that is mutually beneficial to all the people involved. It's beneficial to the executive, it's beneficial to the leader, it's beneficial to all the stakeholders. So it can never be in silos. Leadership skills assist the executive to get there within the work setting. As you said before, when the executive, there are some leaders that they don't get to be in the boardroom. And as the executive, because he has whatever it takes, he sends down those policies to those leaders who will ensure that those policies are put in place, they are worked out with by the employees or the people within the organization. So that is why it can never be in silos. We need one another in order to get there. So executive president needs the leadership, or those who are down a little bit lower than him, and he also will have been able to garner some experience as a leader to get there.
Fadola, all the way from Ibadan, is requesting that you dwell more on the impact of executive rascality on critical decision making and boardroom war.
You see, one thing we always say is that one size does not fit all in management. When you talk of executive rascality, are you talking of the CEO or those who surround him? Because all of them are in the executive suite and they are all in the C suite. So is it the CEO himself, or that person that we call the man at the top? So when you talk of executive rascality, that means that person is not emotionally intelligent. That means that person does not have the presence. Because if you've been through the run of the ladder, you've seen some, even if you did not go through the run of the ladder, and you know that there are people within the organization. I always say that the rich also cry. The blood that runs in you runs in them. So why, if you're not saying executive rascality, what are you trying to achieve? You want to impose yourself on people as a leader and an executive. You should have your sphere of influence, which we always say you need emotional management in order to get these people to ensure the organization does not go down. So the executive rascality is something that somebody ought to have done away with before you get to that top. It is not acceptable in the boardroom. It is not. Because there, people are looking at us to take the organization to a higher level of success. The boardroom should bring policies that will take us. If we believe that we are in a world where there's competition, there's everything, we are not alone in the business. There's some other people that are in the same business as we are. So we should not have executive rascality in the boardroom. Such people, an individual needs training in managing himself. Okay, so there's management of self in whatever. So thank you.
All right, ma. Very well said. Management of self is very key, and we shouldn't have rascality in the boardroom. Very, very key. For all our guests who are just joining us, we've been guesting Mrs. Ayoade Igbeyi, and we've been talking about developing executive presence in the workplace. And we ask you to please send in your questions, as our guest is fully on ground to treat them as they are being sent in. Madam, let me follow up with this quick question. When we hear about corporate politics or boardroom politics in organization, could this mean that there was the absence of executive presence in the workplace, or it was simply compromised?
You see, man is a political animal. There's nowhere we will not have politics. When people always say, oh, I don't want to go to that place, I don't want to. We're not talking of the politics of Nigeria APC and all those no, talking of boardroom politics,
Boardroom politics.
politics, office politics, you can't run away from it. You can't. Even at home, in our homes, we have politics. So when you talk of the political heart, I can see someone say, which is in sync with the question you asked. You see, politics is part of our DNA as human beings. You can't run away from it. What we should do, if you have executive presence, you know how to manage. You manage. Let me give an example. Some people will always say that, um, why is it that the Americans always talk? They will, before they do something, they're already on air. But the British, they will say they are diplomatic. You see, it depends on the context. You have to look at it as an executive. Is it right for me to talk at this point in time? Is it right for me? What do I need to do? What should I do? So when you say politics in the workplace is allowed, as far as I'm concerned, it is allowed. I play politics, and it's up to you to be able to manage the people, the individual, knowing fully well, as I said, the rich also cry. The blood that runs in you runs in them. Never say I will not play the office politics. It's part of life. Okay, it is.
Politics flows through us and is a way of life. Don't run away from it because you need it. It's part of us. It's our way of life. Oh, James is asking this question that what is the impact of political acts on executive effectiveness?
Yeah. You see, if you wear the political hat, it will help you. You know, if you go into some of those hats that they taught us in management, different types of hats. But what I want to break it down is the situation. The hats that you wear at that point in time will depend. Because when you talk of politics, there are so many areas in politics, and what do you need to do? You see, let's look at the issue of the HR. In HR, part of their business is to manage the workforce and manage the boardroom. And when there's an issue, they'll say, go call HR. At that time, the HR manager is wearing the political hat. What does he want to do? How can he approach this? What is paramount? And at this point, you prioritize. Do I talk to them first? Or do I talk to them in the boardroom? What does the book say? Because at times when you even talk about the books, the handbook, the law, the whatever that is in the organization that helps us to get there, whatever book that we work with, some of this will not work. You have to put the human face, which is that political hat. So for you to be effective, you need to know the type of hat to wear. Is it the one with the two dog ears or the Delta, the Delta style? Let's make it physical now and put it on a lighter note. But what do you do? The context of who you are relating with and who you are to manage that situation. Then you become the darling of everybody. Management will be singing your praises. The workforce will be saying that is our man. So what do? You have to be effective, manage the two sides of the coin. That is politics.
Absolutely. Well said, man. Well said. You have to be able to manage both sides of the coin and manage it effectively, which is how politics is played in the boardroom and in an organization. After all, we are all political beings, and so we shouldn't shy away from playing that politics. Um, Following swiftly, can I ask this? Are there unique steps or approaches required to develop executive presence in the workplace?
Yes, yes. What do you do? First, you need to know yourself, know your leadership capability. How do I communicate well? You have to have the confidence. You have to have the charisma. You also need to say, you have to have the technical know-how in order to get there, get across to people. Because when people see you, they're looking for certain things from you as an executive. You can't just go there and open your mouth and say whatever because you just feel like saying it. No, you need to be able to manage the relationship. And that is why we said in executive presence, you need to communicate. And how do you communicate? You need to carry your person, have that persona, that charisma. You see, have you ever realized that there are some people, irrespective of their size, they take command of wherever they find themselves? Why?
Absolutely.
Because of what they have here. These are the hallmark of a leader that he carries along when he gets to the top. Whereas there are some people, no matter how tall or big they are, when they get to a place, they feel intimidated. So, what do you need to do? You need to take command, be authentic in whatever you're doing, carry your personality along, carry what should be done. Are you looking at your audience? Are your people feeling or experiencing you, or you are just there talking to yourself? Because if you don't do it well, you will be what the Aluta people call kind leader. Who is a kind leader? A leader of no importance, of no importance, a push around leader. Okay. So you ask whether it's the dog that is wagging the tail or the tail that is wagging the dog. So you should be able to hold your own if you want to have executive presence. Communication is key. Communication is key. Influence is important. Confidence is important. Charisma, capture attention, so that those that are listening to you will believe and say that this is somebody with a vision. This is somebody that we can follow even with our eyes closed.
Hmm. Hmm. Communicates deeply, deeply. A person of influence with so much confidence, you'll be able to make the difference in a workplace. We've been guesting Mrs. Ayoade Igbeyi, and I've been doing justice to the topic of today, and I can feel the vibes from our audience. Abdul Kadri is joining us, and he's asking this question: how can technical competency of subordinates influence performance of the executive?
Yeah, that is very good. You know, one thing, that's a good question. Because most times when we get to the top, it's lonely. It's lonely up there. Very. If you don't carry your people along. Very, very lonely. So the technical competence of subordinates is very important. There is what we call in management the bottom-up approach to leadership. Down there, those subordinates, those Americans say we should not call them subordinates, they say we should call them associates. Subordinates or associates, they have so much experience. And it's when you get to the top, it is not all the competencies or whatever that you pass through before you got there. So you need these people to you need to have the listening ear. When we said communication, it's not only you communicating down to them, you need to get them to communicate to you, or else you'll be lonely up there. And that is why we say you need to have the listening ear. And with management, we say that hearing is a biological function. Listening is an intellectual ability. For you to succeed in the C-suite, you need to listen. And those competencies of those people will come handy to assist us to get to the promised land. We need them all step up.
It shouldn't be from the top to the bottom, but create an atmosphere where you can have it from the bottom to the top so that you can have your team well coherent in such a way that they will give you the delivery that is expected. We have been doing justice to this topic, but I need to quickly go on a very short break, pay my commercials so that I can keep the program running. And when I come back, I'm going to do more questions to Mrs. Ayoade Igbeyi. Stay tuned. We will be right back.
If you look at the music industry in the 80s, in the 70s, 80s, and even up to the 90s, it was all about American music. in this industry. But today, the story has changed. And what changed the story is about the packaging, the production, the quality. In terms of the talent, we don't lack talent. We have more than enough talent to deliver those quality. But those talent needs to be properly managed, and the product needs to be delivered the way it is expected to be delivered.
Organized the International Accounting Day for the 2021 version. We organize it differently from what we used to do. Before, we just do a press release or paper insertion. But this time, in line with our mantra of making ICAN great again through visible impact,
they have
build on confirmation and verification. And that's what blockchain is really all about, right? Blockchain ensures real-time transactions are possible across borders on a distributed ledger, right? I mean, at its core, blockchain is a ledger system. And I mean, the accountant is, accounting is synonymous to ledgers. I mean, we have a sales ledger, purchase ledger, nominal ledger.
Finance cost, some can also call it borrowing cost, is as a cost. There's no free lunch anywhere. So it can come in form of equity. It can also come in form of debt. And it's to run and finance a project.
Welcome back, viewers, and thank you for joining us on this edition of ICAN on Air. For those who are just joining us, we've been guesting Mrs. Ayoade Igbeyi, and we've been talking about developing executive presence in the workplace. It's been insightful and highly, informative to be guesting her and having you on board this evening. Prior to going on break, we spoke about how we need to, as an executive, pay close attention to our associates. We don't call them subordinates anymore. And how we need to, apart from hearing them, because hearing is mainly a biological function, we also need to listen. Listening is very, very key. And I do believe that we've been taking notes and going into deep diving into more areas of learning in this session. Sheson Kwade, how have you been enjoying this session so far?
It's been a very educative session, and I can tell you for free, I've learned a lot. And another takeaway there for our listener this evening: no more subordinates, call them associate. That's another motivating factor that we can say. Mrs. Igbeyi, we can't thank you enough. But let me just take this question straight from where you stop. Who should be the champion or the driver when it comes to developing executive presence in the workplace?
Who should be the champion? You should do it yourself. Go look for it when you have been able to analyze yourself. In management, we say that you do a SWOT analysis of yourself. Where is that area that something is wrong? If I want to get up to that C-suite, anybody can be a leader, but it's not everybody that will have the opportunity to get to the executive top. Okay, because the organization is like a triangle, and we always say you climb the rung of the ladder in order to get there. So as you get up there, it becomes thinner. And how many people get there? So when you want to champion executive presence, go look for it yourself. It calls for a continuous and never-ending improvement. If you need to pay for it, self-development is something that you need to. But when you're at the level of leadership or leadership, you now want to say, okay, the organization can pay. Some people do pay for themselves, but that means they have a focus. They're looking at the bigger picture. They look at it that one day I'll find myself in that place. How well am I preparing for it? So looking for it and say, oh, until they send me to somewhere, to Harvard, to wherever, I will not be able to develop the executive program. Thank God for technology. There's so many programs, so many training activities that you can join online. There are some that are for free. You need to be able to avail yourself of this. Go look for it yourself. Do a SWOT analysis of yourself, and you now say, there's something wrong with me. For me to get there, I need to. And most times, for you to be able to do this, look at someone, an executive that you admire, an executive that has done well for himself in the C-suite. How do I want to be? Do I want to be like the Olayoles of Nigeria, the Christopher Colade, some people like that, and whatever, the boardroom gurus, we call them? How do you want? So analyze yourself. You should champion your activities yourself. Nobody will take you there.
Analyze yourself and be the champion. And I have this question that actually been forwarded to be saying, who handles staff matters and day-to-day running of an organization? Is it the management or the board? I think this person just need more clarity from the question.
I think it's the management, and it's not the board cannot. The board, they have their own terms and conditions at which they come into the organization. They are usually not paid, but most times it is the management. And it's not everybody in management that will take care of the runnings of the organization. It is a particular set of people that will take care of it. Some people, it is when the policy comes out of the boardroom, it lands probably with HR. And what does HR do? HR will not look at it and break it down, attach plans to some of them. If they cannot, they attach strategies to some of them. And they now say, okay, for safety and security, this goes to this place. For salaries and wages, it goes to admin. For promotion and whatever, okay, the direct line manager, or who does that? So it's the management. It's not the board, please. It's not. They have their own terms of reference.
Okay, very well said. I also have a question from Sonny Oladimeji, and he's saying that in the Nigerian context, as an executive falling short of his executive presence, if he or she cannot give cash gifts to the employees.
Money will finish, relationship will endure.
Oh, wow.
Money will finish, relationship will endure. And at times, if you are saying Nigeria, when you give some of your subordinates money, they will say it's from the abundance of what he has stolen that he's giving me.
Okay.
It's from the abundance of what he has stolen. So you cannot say because you didn't give them money, that cash gift or whatever, then that is when you are not an executive. You don't even get to. How many of your staff would you see? Okay, how many of them would you see to give cash gift? No, it's not in all situations. There are some people that would take care of the financial aspect of their life or whatever that they need. It's not you, okay? Except maybe if you feel my driver, those my domestic staff, okay? If not, please don't. Some people, they don't need your money, you know. They need your presence. They need your advice. They need you to talk to them. They need to counsel them. They need you to be their mentor. I've heard people say, Mrs. Igbeyi, I want to be like you. I say, you'll be better. You'll be better than me. I'm just Ayoade. But you, with whatever is at your disposal, please, you'll be better, far better, and greater. So if I'd given that person money, the person would say, thank you, Mrs. Igbeyi, all the same. But that will not solve the problem at that point in time. So please, cash gift is not always advisable. If they have to, send them to those who are in charge. Okay?
Cash gifts are not always advisable, but you give more of your presence, more of the advice, more of the encouragement to motivate and take your associate to the next level. Mrs. Igbeyi, I want to, as an associate, as an institute that pride itself a lot, ICAN is interested in the growth of our members and always happy to see them reach the zenith of their career as a managing director, financial controller, CFOs, captain of industry. I want to ask specifically, are there special skills, knowledge, or tools that are required to further equip them to be more successful in their workplace?
Yes, there are tools, there are trainings, there are activities they can engage in. Good enough, I was part of ICAN membership exam education and training for years. And I was in the for years, for years, and I was in GMP, General Management Practice. There, we talked to our accountants that you need to do certain things in order to be able to develop yourself. We treated topics like leadership, entrepreneurship, so many things that you can do. But for you to be able to get to the zenith of your profession as an accountant, one, you need to go for training. Training in whatever way that can help you. And one thing about training and learning and development is that it is continuous and never ending. Lifelong learning. Lifelong learning. You can't help but do that. Things are changing. I always tell people that I'm not proud of being a BBC. And what is BBC? Born before computer. Born before computer.
Oh, wow.
I can't pride myself there, because what I've done is that if I pride myself that I'm born before computer, I will not be here with you. I'll be sweating, looking for who will help me to navigate my way to get to this. So for us as accountants to get to the zenith of our profession and to develop the executive presence, you need emotional intelligence management training. You need to be able to hold your own in the area of public speaking, because one day the lot will fall on you to say something somewhere. How would you manage? And that is why I love the education of old. In those days, they used to give us impromptu debate, and they would give us, you're going to talk about this. And say, hey, who am I? Why should I? And we used to do it. So we need to develop our public speaking. You need to communicate to connect. Don't communicate to burn the bridge. Communicate to connect. Because if you burn the bridge, what do you use in getting across to the other person? Use confidence, training, integrity. Integrity. Develop a signature style. And what do I mean by that? Especially your appearance. Don't be caught off guard. As an accountant in those days, we use our tie. That person is an accountant. That person works in the bank. That person is an accountant. But have a signature that at any point in time, you are like the scouts. Be prepared. Don't say that because today is Friday. Today's not Friday, it's tomorrow that's Friday. People will always say TGIF, dress down. It may be that day that somebody will say, we are meeting so and so. I'll give you an example. When I was in service, there was this one of my associates. He came in dressed on a Friday like somebody going to the beach. And I said, why are you dressed like this? He said, today is Friday, so he's dressed down. I said, I agree. I said, but this is not appropriate dressing. This is not appropriate. I said, supposing we need to send you out of this place to go and deliver something. Is this how you go in there like a palm wine drinker? I said, go back home. He said, mommy, home is far. You know, so at each point in time, when you develop a signature style, that is why we always advise people that most times, especially for our men, have a jacket in the office. Hang it there so that the day they say, come and go and do something, quickly just put it on. You do casual, official. Nobody will hold you back. But for you to just go there, your shirt flying and looking like, I know it's not it. Develop a signature style. When I was in broadcasting, I used to do a program on women, and I said, dressing for the occasion. You should be appropriate. Your signature style should be appropriate. At any point in time, don't ever get off guard. Be ready, like the scout. Be prepared and learn to be a leader. For you to get there, there's so many leadership skills. If there's any topic that has been flogged and flogged and flogged, it's never overflogged. There will always be something that we bring out. Learn to be a leader. Learn to be a leader in order to get there, because learning is never ending. All what you have said now are all the behaviors that you need to carry along as an executive for you to have the present. And these are skills that you can learn. You can learn them. They are not rocket science. Since we are dealing with human beings, they are not rocket science, and you can get there. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well said, man. Well said. They are not rocket science. These are things we can learn and we can get there. It's very key to develop our emotional intelligence skills, and also, most importantly, our public speaking skills and our communication skills. These are very, very important things we need to have, and also have a signature dressing so we are not caught off guard at any point in time. I like that. Taking Shuaib Badmo's question, he says, how can executive presence be used to impact performance of political office holders in the public sector generally? I can see your look there, man.
Public office, political office. If you are
Yes.
removed that political, I would say public office holder. I probably would say, but political office, you know, we said that all of us are political animals. It's in our DNA to be political. No problems. However, executive presence, you know, in the Nigerian context, when they get elected into the National Assembly, they say they've gone for retreat. What do they want to impact at the retreat? They want to tell them how to do it well. And as we said sometime in this discussion, we said that who helps you to drive executive presence? You. It's not enough to take them to retreat, our political office holders. Have they been able to soak themselves into what they learn? And what not only that, we said that whatever you do in life, you should attach action to it, or else they will go into oblivion. They go. So what you need to do is that, what are those things that I'm lacking? Political office holders, if you know that something is wrong with me and I need to perform well, what do I need to do? Do an analysis of yourself. Because presence is something that you will need to go on with wherever you go. Wherever. People, when they see you and you have executive presence, they've already concluded. When that question came and you said political office holder, you saw how I did. I said, I've already concluded. Political office holder, I've already concluded. Take the horse to the stream. Can you force them to drink? They will take them to drink. they will take them to everywhere. The individual is a person that will make sure that people do not have the wrong conclusion about him. So, because most relationship should be trust based. Do we trust our politicians? Are they empowering the team? Because we are their team. They are just the team leader. We send them there so that they will be productive while they are there, and we'll be loyal to the cause that they are fighting for. They will be able to run the race with them so that we'll be able to achieve together.
This is pardon me that I'm going to interject you here. One thing that has always been of challenge to us is time and time and time. We have done justice, and I can tell you from the feelers I am getting from our audience, you have actually done excellently well. But before I let you go, in 30 seconds, what would be your general advice or suggestion for the Institute and our members regarding development of executive presence in a workplace? 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Putting all together, all you need is what? Emotional intelligence, self-awareness, social awareness, self-management and relationship management, good communication and interpersonal skills, confidence, trust, the physical presence, that is your appearance, technical know-how, move from sympathy to empathy and compassion, put action to it, develop a new mindset, a new you, build a memorable and admirable executive presence. It calls for what we call total packaging. Finally, as accountants, stand up to be seen, talk to be heard, sit down to be noticed. These are the essence of executive presence.
Wow.
Oh, what a brilliant way to bring the show to an end today. Sincerely speaking, Mrs. Ayoade Igbeyi, you have done wonderfully well with this show, and I can feel the vibes from our audience today. I want to believe that when next we call on you, you will always be there to always come, educate us, knowing fully well that you too, you are an FCA who cannot sign account, a friend of chartered accountant. On that note, we are bringing to a close today our session of ICAN on Air. And to all our viewers, let me appreciate you for connecting to us today to be part of the program. Let me state here that next week Tuesday and next week Thursday, it's going to be the conference edition. We will be bringing to you some of the snipers from the conference that is starting on Monday, the 10th of October to 14th of October. Stay connected. We will be broadcasting live from the capital city, Abuja, where you will be getting top-notch of the program, the 52nd Annual Accountant Conference. I know you're already packaging yourself for the program, and I can assure you that the 58th ICAN president is already waiting for you to welcome you at the Sheraton Hotel and Towers International Conference Center to make it a very wonderful session where you are going to learn again. Stay connected until myself and Olamide get connected to you next week Tuesday, all the way from the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Stay safe, and we'll meet next week.